Archangel Michael says, stop worrying, because heaven is working behind the scenes. My beloved child, if this message has reached you today, stop for a moment. Just breathe. Because what you are about to hear is not a coincidence. This is not a random video that appeared in your feed by accident. Something far greater than chance brought you here, to this exact moment, on this exact day. And I need you to hear this clearly, heaven has been watching you. I know what you have been carrying lately. I know the weight that sits on your chest when you wake up in the morning. I know the thoughts that visit you at 3 a.m., when the world is silent and the worries feel loudest. I know you have been tired. Not just physically tired, but soul tired. The kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. The kind that comes from carrying hope for so long, and wondering if anything will ever change. Archangel Michael has a message for you today. And it begins with these words, stop worrying. Not because your problems are small. Not because your struggles don't matter. But because while you have been focused on what you can see, heaven has been quietly, powerfully working on everything you cannot see. There are forces moving on your behalf right now that your human eyes are not able to detect. And that is exactly what I want to show you today. You have felt unseen, haven't you? You have done the work. You have prayed, you have waited, you have tried to stay faithful even when the answers didn't come. Even when the silence felt unbearable. Even when people around you seemed to be moving forward while you felt frozen in place. That feeling, of being overlooked, of being forgotten by heaven, I understand why it crept into your heart. But my precious one, let me tell you something that changes everything. You were never overlooked. You were never forgotten. What felt like silence was never emptiness. What felt like stillness was never abandonment. There is a profound difference between God being absent and God being at work in ways that cannot yet be revealed to you. Think about a seed planted in the darkness of the earth. To any outside observer, nothing is happening. The soil looks still. The surface is quiet. Weeks pass and there is no visible sign of life. But beneath the ground, beneath what any eye can see, something extraordinary is unfolding. Roots are stretching. Nutrients are being absorbed. The entire infrastructure of something beautiful is being built in the dark. The seed is not forgotten. The seed is not failing. The seed is becoming. That is exactly what is happening in your life right now. The waiting you have been enduring is not punishment. The delay you have experienced is not rejection. You are in the underground season of your story. The part that doesn't make sense yet, the part that feels invisible, the part that requires a kind of faith that is honestly very hard to hold on to. But hold on. Because what heaven is building beneath the surface of your life is far greater than anything you could have constructed on your own timeline. Listen closely, my child. Michael was not sent to you today to offer empty comfort. He was sent because the season is shifting. Because what has been growing in the dark is almost ready to break through the soil. Almost. And you need to still be standing when it does. My dear child, I want you to understand something about the way heaven operates. Heaven does not work on your schedule. And I know that can be one of the most frustrating truths to accept, especially when you are the one waiting, the one hurting, the one wondering when things will finally turn around. But here is what most people never realize. The timing of heaven is not slow because God forgot. It is precise because God cares too deeply to rush what He is building in you. A surgeon does not hurry. A master craftsman does not cut corners. And the God who formed every star in the universe, who wove together every fiber of your being before you took your first breath, that God is not careless with your story. He is deliberate. He is intentional. And every single day that has passed, even the painful ones, even the confusing ones, has been part of a design you are not yet able to fully see. I need you to sit with that for a moment. Not one day has been wasted. Not one tear has fallen without meaning. Not one prayer you have whispered into the darkness has gone unheard. Every single word you have spoken to heaven has been received. Now, I want to talk about something that Archangel Michael wants you to understand deeply. There is a difference between a battle you are losing and a battle that is being fought for you. When the armies of fear surround you. When anxiety closes in, when doubt whispers that nothing will change, when the enemy of your peace tries to convince you that you are on your own, that is precisely the moment Michael steps forward. That is his assignment. To stand between you and the forces that want to destroy your hope. And he has been standing there. Even when you could not feel him. Even when the fear felt overwhelming and the darkness felt thick. Michael has been present at the boundary of your life, holding back what was never meant to reach you. You survived things that were designed to break you. Have you ever stopped to wonder how? It was not luck. It was not coincidence. There was divine protection around your life in moments when you had no idea how close the edge actually was. There were doors closed that would have led you somewhere devastating. There were connections broken that would have cost you everything. My beloved child, I want to tell you about something that happens in the natural world that mirrors exactly what is happening in your life right now. In the forests of the Pacific Northwest, there are trees that have stood for hundreds of years. Massive, towering, unshakable. When storms roll in off the ocean, and those storms are violent, my child, they are powerful and relentless, those ancient trees do not fall. Do you know why? It is not because the storms were gentle with them. It is because every storm that passed through those forests drove the roots deeper into the earth. Every wind that bent those trees pushed their root systems wider, further, stronger beneath the soil. The storm was not their enemy. The storm was their teacher. And every difficult season you have walked through, every moment that felt like it was tearing you apart, was driving your roots deeper than you ever would have gone in a season of comfort. You are stronger than you realize. Far stronger. Not because life has been easy for you, but because it hasn't been. And you are still here. You are still breathing. You are still reaching for something greater, which is exactly why this message found you today. Listen closely, my child. There are people in your life who will never understand what you have been through. They will not understand the silence you have sat in, the nights you pushed through alone, the moments where giving up felt like the only logical option. But you did not give up. And heaven noticed every single moment you chose to keep going when everything inside you wanted to stop. That perseverance is not small. In the economy of heaven, that kind of faithfulness is extraordinarily rare and extraordinarily precious. Every morning you woke up and decided to try again, that was an act of courage that echoed through the spiritual realm. Michael wants you to know that your endurance has been seen. Your faithfulness has been recorded. And it has not gone unrewarded. Now I want to speak to the loneliness for a moment, because I know it has been one of your heaviest companions. There are seasons in a person's life where God calls them into a kind of sacred solitude. Not because they are unloved. Not because they are forgotten. But because the work being done inside them requires stillness. Requires separation from noise. Requires a quiet that the busy, crowded world simply cannot provide. You may have looked at others around you, surrounded by people, moving through life with ease, laughing in ways that felt distant from where you were standing, and you wondered what was wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. You are being prepared in a place where preparation requires silence. Think about a gardener who separates one particular plant from the rest of the garden. Not to neglect it. Not to punish it. But because that specific plant needs different conditions to reach its full potential. Different soil. Different light. Different care. You have been that plant. Set apart not because you are less than, but because what is growing inside you is something that required a different kind of tending. The loneliness was not abandonment. It was cultivation. And my precious one, the season of isolation is not your permanent address. It is a passage. A corridor between who you were and who you are becoming. And on the other side of that corridor, connection awaits you, the kind of deep, meaningful, soul-level connection that only people who have walked through deep waters are capable of truly offering one another. Your depth was being matched. Your people were being prepared too. Heaven thinks of everything. My dear child, I want to talk to you about fear for a moment. Not to shame you for feeling it. Not to tell you that you should have more faith and therefore feel nothing. But because fear has been one of the primary weapons used against you in this season, and it is time to call it exactly what it is. Fear is a liar. It dresses itself up in logic. It wraps itself in statistics and worst-case scenarios and whispers that it is only being realistic with you. It tells you to prepare for disappointment. It tells you that hoping too much will only lead to more pain. And so quietly, slowly, without even realizing it was happening, you started to shrink. You started to dream smaller. Expect less. Protect yourself by keeping your hopes close to the ground where they couldn't fall too far. I understand why you did that. It made sense from a human perspective. But my precious one, that shrinking was never part of the plan heaven had for your life. Archangel Michael was specifically created to combat fear. His very name, Michael, means, who is like God. And when he stands before you, he stands as a reminder that the power operating on your behalf is greater than any force that has ever tried to diminish you. You were not designed for a small life. You were not created to merely survive, to scrape by, to white-knuckle your way through existence hoping things don't get worse. You were created for something that requires the full, expanded, fearless version of who you are. And heaven has been working to restore that version of you. Think about what happens to metal when it is placed in fire. To anyone watching, it looks like destruction. The heat is intense. The form seems to be dissolving. There is nothing comfortable about the process. But the fire is not destroying the metal. The fire is purifying it. Burning away everything that was never supposed to be part of its composition. The impurities rise to the surface and are removed, and what remains when the fire is done is something stronger, purer, and more valuable than what went in. You have been in the fire, my child. And what is emerging from that fire is not a broken version of who you used to be. It is the truest, most refined version of who you were always meant to become. The resistance you have faced has not been random. The specific nature of the warfare in your life, the particular areas where struggle has concentrated itself, those patterns are not accidents. They are targeted attacks against the exact gifts, the exact calling, the exact purpose that heaven placed inside you before you were born. The enemy does not waste energy attacking what doesn't matter. If your life has felt like a battleground, it is because you are carrying something worth fighting over. That reframe changes everything, my child. Every obstacle reinterpreted through that lens is no longer evidence of your failure, it is evidence of your significance. The attacks were confirmation. The resistance was proof. You matter far more than fear has allowed you to believe. And Michael stands guard over every gift inside you, ensuring that what heaven placed in you will not be stolen, will not be silenced, and will not be stopped. Not now. Not ever. My beloved child, I want to paint a picture for you. Imagine a vast winter landscape. Everything is gray and cold and still. The trees are bare. The ground is hard. To anyone passing through, the scene looks lifeless. Looks finished. Looks like nothing could possibly grow in a place so frozen and so quiet. But beneath that hard, cold ground, life is doing something remarkable. The bulbs that were planted in autumn are slowly, imperceptibly pushing their first tender shoots upward through the soil. The roots of every bare tree are exchanging nutrients through vast underground networks that no human eye can see. The entire ecosystem is alive and communicating and preparing for something that the surface has not yet revealed. Winter is not death. Winter is preparation wearing a disguise. And my dear child, if you have been living in what feels like a long winter, if the color seems to have drained from your days, if hope feels distant like warmth you can barely remember, I need you to know that the spring that is coming for your life is not a small one. It is going to be breathtaking. The longer the winter, the more explosive the spring. That is not just poetry. That is the law written into the very fabric of the natural world, and it reflects the deeper spiritual truth that the seasons of your soul operate by the same principle. What has been held back is going to come forward with a force and a beauty that will make you understand, finally, completely, why the waiting was necessary. Listen closely, my child. I want to speak now about the people who walked away from you. The relationships that ended. The friendships that faded. The connections you invested in deeply that somehow still did not last. I know how much some of those losses hurt. I know how some of them left you questioning your own worth, your own value, your own ability to be truly loved. But heaven needs you to see those departures differently. Not every person who leaves your life is leaving because you were not enough. Some people exit your story because their chapter was genuinely complete. Because what they were meant to carry into your life, a lesson, a season of growth, a mirror that showed you something you needed to see about yourself, had been delivered. Their leaving was not rejection. It was completion. And some of those exits were protective. Some of those people, had they remained, would have occupied space that is being reserved for someone far better suited to walk alongside the person you are becoming. Heaven is curating your circle with extraordinary care. Not everyone deserves access to the version of you that is emerging from this season. Not everyone has the capacity to hold what you are growing into. And God, in His mercy, has been making room, even when the making of that room felt like grief. Trust the pruning, my precious one. A gardener who loves his vineyard prunes it without apology. Not to harm the vine, but because he understands that untended growth spreads thin and weak, while pruned growth concentrates its energy and produces fruit of extraordinary quality. You are being pruned for an extraordinary harvest. The losses were not the end of your story. They were the editing of it. Heaven removing what was diluting your purpose so that what remains is pure and focused and aligned with everything you were created to produce. Nothing was taken from you without something greater being prepared to take its place. And the replacements that heaven brings are always, always, worth the wait.